many people, in fact it might even be most people, are full of anger. Anger is a particular emotion where really we want to destroy something that is causing us pain. Now, the parent of anger is hatred, but I'll get onto that in a moment. Hatred and anger are seen as aberrant, and they're not. They are the most normal and well-adjusted things that a person can feel. Let's just talk about the dynamics in a very rough sense. I'll get into the details more as we go through this. So here you are competing with 7 billion or thereabouts other people for scarce resources. Money, your position in a traffic jam, in the checkout queue, for sexual partners. We're kind of competing for almost everything. And we want everything to go our way, obviously. When it doesn't go our way, then our power, our expression in life is in some way inhibited. And we don't like it. So let's get into this analysis properly. And when we don't like it, we hate the thing that's stopping our power. It's stopping us expressing ourselves. So, if you want to go driving down the motorway at 70 miles an hour, there's a guy in front of you who's doing 50 and won't pull over, you're going to get angry with that person because they're inhibiting your expression, the free flow of your own will and desire. So, anger and hatred go back to this fundamental thing of us being essentially a desire, the desire to persist in our existence and the desire to express ourselves in the fullest way possible. And we're full of desires that we want to satisfy and and modes of expression that we want to realize. And Nietzsche said more than this, really. He said we want to become more. We don't want to be inhibited. This ultimately is all about survival and becoming more. If anybody in any way threatens your survival, albeit very indirectly, so say somebody gets the job you were looking for, you'll hate them. This is what hate is. We hate things that cause us pain, that in some way inhibit us expressing ourselves or doing exactly what we want. Now, in our raw state, we would rape, pillage, and murder. I mentioned before, police strikes, on the rare occasions that they've happened, have always been associated with increased murders, looting, rape. So we live in a society where we have rules, and those rules inhibit what we do. Guess what? We're going to get angry about that. So, the anger and the hatred is built into the very fabric of society. Because if you could just wander around with your AK-47, shoot a few people, shoot a rabbit or a hare or a sheep or something, cook yourself a meal, rape somebody, do whatever it is that you want to do at any particular moment in time, you'd have no reason for hatred. because nobody would be inhibiting your action or expression. But your expression and your desires are thwarted all day, every day. And so we get angry. First of all, we start to hate. We hate the things that are inhibiting us or preventing us from getting what we want exactly. So, we might hate what? I don't know. Maybe our boss at work, because we don't want to go to work. And he becomes a symbol of having to go to work, doing something we don't want to do, so we hate him or her. More generally, we can't walk into our neighbour's house and just steal his new 52-inch plasma TV. Or we can't go to the bank and just take any amount of money out that we want. This is what we would like to do. But we can't, because we live in a society. So the point I'm making here is that when your actions are inhibited in some way, you will hate the thing or person that is inhibiting your actions or expression, and you will get angry towards them. Anger is basically the desire to destroy the thing that is stopping you from getting what you want. Now, hatred and anger are fairly strong words, but I'm using the words here in a very generic sense. Not, normally when we think of hatred, we think that somebody's going to murder somebody or something. Well, we're not necessarily talking about that. Hatred might be I don't know. Hatred might be a traffic jam. You hate the traffic jam because it's stopping you from getting to where you want to go. And if you had the power, you would destroy that traffic jam if you could. But unfortunately we can't do that. But anyway, the word hatred and anger is used in a very, very broad sense, from just petty little things like a fly buzzing around your head. You hate it because it's disturbing you, maybe. And you get angry and you try and swat it. From little things like that through to someone is having an affair with your partner. That might stir pretty intense hatred. And anger. The point I'm making here is that hatred and anger are to be expected, and they're not unusual. You can go to people who are just full of anger. You can see it a mile off usually. And if you say to them, are you angry? No, of course I'm not angry. Jump down your throat. It's very hard for people to admit that they're angry or hate something, because in our society of unhappy optimists, we really, really cannot afford to be truthful about how we feel, because we're supposed to be sweetness and light all the time. Charming, entertaining, all those things. You certainly can't say openly, I hate this fucking job. I hate the boss. I hate everything about this. If you were to say that openly, I imagine you'd be shown the door pretty quickly. So any situation that blocks the gratification of your desires will be hated, situation or person. So I already mentioned traffic jams. Maybe your boss passes you over for a promotion, so you hate him or her. You hate someone who's dating somebody that you want to date, so it's stopping you getting what you want. Maybe you hate having to get up early to go to work because you want to stay in bed. So hate is going to be there all the time. As Leopardi says, hate is a very natural and almost ubiquitous emotion. Everybody's full of it. Trouble is, what makes it worse, obviously, is not being able to talk about it, because there you have another inhibition, another way you cannot express yourself. Oh, you can't talk about negative stuff like that. So, not only do you feel hateful, but you can't talk about your feeling hateful, which makes you even more hateful because you're being prevented from doing what you want to do. So, it's the nature of society that we all agree, whether we want to or not, because we're born into a society where we're pretty much forced to agree, with the rules and regulations that apply to that society. Those rules and regulations will inhibit what we can do. And we will hate some of those rules and regulations, and we will get angry. It's just like water flows downhill. We're going to be in a state of anger or hatred quite a lot of the time. Of course, this whole thing starts when we're kids. So when you're a baby, for the first, 4 or 5 years maybe, most of your desires are going to be blocked by your parents. You're going to hate them. Have you ever seen a little 2 or 3 year old having a temper tantrum? If that baby had the means to kill you, it probably would, or to kill its parents. Because it is being told, no, you cannot have, or you should do, whatever. And this is kind of wholly new to the kid. The kid just basically wants to eat and crap and probably play with things. But it has to do other things. It has to sit at the table and have a meal when the parents want it to have a meal. So temper tantrums. So, from a very early age, we start to get full of hatred and anger. The problem is that, depending on your parents, this hatred for parents may well go on into adult life, not necessarily directed towards the parents, but towards authority figures. Because you will just project the people who were originally saying no, your parents, you will project that onto the people around you. Lots of young men have problems with authority figures. So, when you are angry, just remember, it's a normal state. There's nothing special about it. The only way to deal with all of this is to understand it. You hate things that in some way inhibit your life expression, your desires. And then you get angry towards those things that do that. That's all that's going on, ever. And of course you'll love the things that enhance your life expression. So someone flattering you, maybe. So, anger and hatred are not unusual things. You just have to get used to understanding what they are, why they've arisen. And when, as Spinoza might say, you form a clear and distinct idea of what's going on, the emotions tend to diminish. You don't have to diminish them. Sit with them if you want. But the problem is that hatred and anger are not actually very pleasant for the person experiencing them. They're a form of pain. So it is useful to know how to deal with those kind of emotions. Anyway, main point is hatred and anger are normal. Leopardi says that they are, and as does Spinoza, they are our default state. So don't try and pretend to yourself that you are a loving, kind person, because you're not, and because nobody is.